Good afternoon, everyone. It's David Schlotthauer here in the home weather office for your Friday, April the 26th, 2024. In today's severe weather forecast, we're going to be looking ahead for later on today into tomorrow because tomorrow looks to be a very serious day with a severe weather outbreak likely. So with that being said, here's a look at the latest 12Z HRRR model, which stands for High Resolution Rapid Refresh. This is a CAMS model, convective allowing model, which we're able to see individual supercells that could pop up today based on its analysis. So looking ahead here, we can definitely get an idea that we have a lot of supercell structures that do look to fire along the dry line and warm front as it lifts northward. Some of these storms could be capable of producing very large hail, possibly 2 to 3 inches in diameter, and the threat for tornadoes down here, not particularly strong because of the presence of weaker shear, but still in all, we're looking at a lot of supercell activity this afternoon. By this evening, we can see what the latest HRRR is showing. Definitely some upscale growth into a cluster of line of storms over western Iowa. This is where we could see some strong tornadoes. We also have another storm cluster and a linear segment approaching St. Louis, Missouri. So this would be right around your 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock hour time frame for Central Daylight Time, and then more storms could pop up this evening across western portion there of Missouri, with more storms across Texas. But guess what? This is not all you're going to see. Let's go into the overnight hours. This is where we're going to see more storms pop up, especially by early tomorrow morning, where we might see a storm cluster there form across northwestern Texas. But it's really the early to late afternoon hours for your Saturday that we are going to see a prolific severe weather outbreak, including the possibility of intense tornadoes. That's EF3 plus, folks. We're looking at strong to intense tornadoes, very large hail, possibly 3 to 4 inches in diameter, and the likelihood we could see wind gusts exceeding 70, perhaps 75 miles an hour with some of these storms. So tomorrow is looking like a very, very big concerning day for sure. We'll look at the SPC here in just a second, but we can definitely get an idea. Look at all the storm clusters, some supercells. Here's your warm front that is going to be in position across central southern Iowa into north or southeastern Nebraska. And then another storm cluster down here along that dry line, that confluent zone over Oklahoma and eastern Kansas. But look at this. Look at these individual supercells that do look to fire up over Oklahoma. This is where we could see strong tornadoes, folks. Maybe a intense tornado. And just for your information, intense is not the same as strong in SPC format. They use the word strong when looking at the possibility of EF2 tornadoes, EF2 to EF3. But we're going to possibly see intense tornadoes, which is EF3 to even EF4 intensity, perhaps, over Oklahoma. So that is very, very concerning, even into Kansas as well. And then we could still see some tornado genesis along this line. But of course, this is a simulated forecast, and this is not what is actually going to happen. This is based on numerical data and everything coming together. This is what it might end up being, but we could certainly see more of a broken line, but upscale growth into a very linear MCS is then expected at least by overnight Saturday into Sunday morning. Now you might be asking, why is this going to be such a big severe weather event, likely an outbreak for your Saturday, including for today, especially because portions of Iowa could have a strong tornado. So this is the 500 millibar jet stream forecast. This is looking above the surface to discern where the strongest upper level dynamics are. So first of all, we have a trough right here. This is negatively tilted. This is ejecting already into the Midwest, including for Iowa today. This is going to be today's severe weather risk. This is not related to tomorrow by any means. This is a separate system. But it's right here, this big broadening of low pressure over California and Nevada. This is going to kick off that prolific severe weather outbreak tomorrow, including strong to intense tornadoes. I have to emphasize that. I just cannot stop emphasizing that because it's going to be such a big deal. So by tomorrow late morning, this trough is going to be in a hurry to get into the Four Corners by early tomorrow morning. Very strong flow in the left exit region. So there's going to be some cyclogenesis going on across Kansas and eastern Colorado at the start of the period. And the southwesterly flow will occur overhead of southeasterly flow at the surface. So that's going to kick off that shear. And so by tomorrow night, we can see this trough is going to become increasingly negatively tilted, which means this trough is going to intensify once it gets into the high plains. And think about it this way. Left exit region flow up here. This is where your warm front is going to be. This is where this is the warm sector right in here. This is where your dry line is going to be. Right out ahead into western Texas. And the triple point is somewhere right in here, and that's what we're concerned about. And look at the flow. Very strong flow, over 80 knots throughout the deep layer here of Oklahoma, Texas, and Kansas. Moisture is definitely not a problem with this system, unlike yesterday. Tomorrow, we are going to have a lot of moisture in place. Actually, today, 70-degree dew points, but then tomorrow, once we forward this, before the storms get going, look at these dew points. We're talking mid to upper 60s, perhaps low 70 dew points, even into portions of Oklahoma as well as Texas. So a lot of moisture is going to be in the atmosphere. This is going to occur beneath very steep lapse rates, okay? And lapse rates is basically a change in temperature with height. The steeper the lapse rates, the more unstable the atmosphere is going to be, especially if it occurs within a warm sector where we have a lot of moisture. So shear is not a problem. We're also looking at plenty full of moisture, and instability, not a problem either tomorrow. So all of these three are going to lead to some serious severe weather. But before we get there, here's a look at the, here's a look at the latest Storm Prediction Center. This was updated not too long ago. And yes, it has now been updated on Q. We have now an enhanced risk of severe weather now stretching across Dallas-Fort Worth, Texas, northeastern Texas, eastern Oklahoma, western Arkansas, western Missouri, eastern Kansas, as well as northeastern and eastern Nebraska, and central and southwestern Iowa. This is where we're really concerned about about large hail and damaging winds today. In fact, if we update our tornado risk for today, we do have now the potential for strong tornadoes now. So this is now considerably an outbreak of severe weather today, given the fact that we do have a 10 sig in a large area. When we take a look at our wind forecast, not so much wind driven today, only looking at a 15% risk for damaging winds and a 30% significant for large hail, especially across, actually let me update that. There we go, that's a little bit better. A 30 sig now stretching into Oklahoma and Texas, including again for western Missouri. So today is looking pretty serious, no joke at all. So now what about tomorrow's severe weather threat? So when we update this, this has not been released yet, but I'm very sure, I am being very positive, folks. This is my own opinion. This is not the official outlook, but I'm thinking that that a moderate risk of severe weather will be over in this area is where I think a moderate risk for severe weather will be in place. This includes, again, strong to intense tornadoes, very large to giant hailstones, and again, possibly hurricane force winds with some of the individual supercells, and then more likely into an MCS that could produce some persuasive damaging wind concerns in this area. So again, that's my moderate risk in my own opinion. I'm pretty confident based on the dynamics that we're looking at. That's going to go moderate. There's also a 10 sig for tornadoes tomorrow. This is not updated at all. And there's a 30% risk for damaging winds. That is non-significant. And this is not going to be driven by wind, by the way. If it goes officially moderate on the SPC, it's going to be driven by a 15% risk, significant risk for tornadoes, and possibly a 45 significant for large hail is what I think it's going to go. Either or, if it's not 45 sig for hail, it's going to still be a moderate risk because we have and once again, here's a look at that hail risk, 30% significant in a large area. So that is what is going to be the concern tomorrow? Pretty much a loaded gun day, I would say. Everything almost significant except for wind. That might change in the next outlook. We shall see and wait if that actually comes to fruition. Now, day 3, not as significant at all, but I'm still thinking that there's going to be an enhanced risk of severe weather somewhere over here in later outlook. So definitely not a day to turn your back on at all for Sunday. So that's Sunday's risk. And then, of course, we're not looking at anything for day 4, but this is the probability risk for severe weather, and it's non-sig for Sunday, which is good. But again, in later outlooks, we'll probably see some sort of an enhanced risk along this boundary. Might even go a little higher than that with some of their probabilities. Okay, so now, as far as how much rainfall you could see, another threat with this will be flooding and significant flooding as well. It doesn't get any worse than this. I hate to bring you all the bad news, but I mean, come on, this is not good at all. So rainfall amounts anywhere between 2 to 4 inches, possibly locally up to 5 inches of rain in a matter of 2 to 3 days over Oklahoma. That's a lot of rain just to fall in a 3-day time frame. And therefore, the Weather Prediction Center today has issued a slight risk for heavy rainfall and flooding with a marginal risk in Iowa. But tomorrow, there's already a moderate risk for heavy rainfall and flooding over the Oklahoma, southern Kansas, and northern Texas area. And this does include a lot of population. So if you encounter flooded roadways, folks, or if you encounter anything that's flooding, please do not attempt to drive your vehicle in it. Do not attempt to walk in it, because there could be some biohazards in that, like, like oils and stuff from vehicles. Please do not attempt to do anything, to swim, to we'd never get flooding or anything. It's dangerous. It is life-threatening. Please heed my advice. Please be safe, because you just don't know how deep the water is on a roadway. Even so, you have all that experience. I'll put this into my own words. No one has experience at all driving through flooded waters. Even if you think you do, you don't. All right, because maybe the road got eroded. Maybe there's a big sinkhole and you don't see it because the water is so murky. Oh, I said mercury. Sorry about that. But you get the understanding that don't drive your vehicle through flooded roadways. Turn around, don't drown is the nursery rhyme for that. Day 3, slight risk for heavy rainfall, and that is a big concern. Okay, before I do end the video, I do have a few announcements that I do want to mention to you all. I know you all are probably tired of this at the end of each of my videos, but this is important. My second Atlantic Hurricane Seasonal Forecast will be released on Wednesday, May the 1st at 3 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time. That will be 6 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, followed by another Atlantic Hurricane Seasonal Outlook seasonal, that again, looking at the numbers, for Wednesday, May 21st at 3 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time and 6 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time for the Eastern Seaboard. All right, my first routine tropical weather outlook will begin on May 25th and runs through November 1st, folks. This includes rapid updates and live streams, morning uploads if necessary. So if we have a major hurricane about to make landfall, we will do rapid fire updates, morning and afternoon updates. That would be 2 to 3 videos a day. And the morning videos would be 8 in the morning, and the afternoon videos would be between 3 p.m. and maybe even 4 p.m. But that would be 5 and 6 or 6 and 7 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. You could also subscribe to David Schlotthauer. I am no longer Weather Force. Just the name didn't go very well for my channel, so we have changed it back to David Schlotthauer. So if you want to subscribe today, you can go ahead and doing so. And you could also follow me on Twitter, where I do a lot of these updates as well, especially today, not looking good, and tomorrow I'll probably be doing something special for you all on Twitter. And also, you could join the Weather Force Discord server. There is a link in the description below this video. Well, anyways, thank you all for tuning in to today's severe weather forecast. I hope you have a great rest of your Friday. I'll be back with you more on Sunday.